Hi, welcome to inTruthNews. My name is Jolie Gonzalez Padilla, and I am your Hispanic conservative patriot. So happy you joined us. Stay tuned for more news.
The Viper here with inTruthNews, where truth is in the news. Got some things to share with you. Hold on and get ready for the ride.
Hey, my name is Jolie Gonzalez Padilla. Welcome to another edition of Hispanic Conservative, a part of inTruthNews, where truth is in the news. You know, there's a saying in Spanish. It says, "A mí no me gusta el bochinche, pero me entretiene." Translation, I sure don't like gossip, but it sure is entertaining. And on that note, I got so much to share with you today. Stay tuned. These stories on Fani Willis just keep getting better and better. Better for the conservative side, obviously, but not so good for liberals. This week, or in the last couple days, things have really started to come out. I know that the phone records for Nathan Wade are going to be released, and according to these records, it shows him at this condo that Fanny rented in the middle of the night numerous times. And between January and November of 2021, it shows over 2,000 phone calls between them, overnight visits, and it's not looking good. It's looking like there's lies being told by this couple and by their office. So let me just share these stories with you.
Just last week, Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade took the stand under oath, and he was asked about his phone records. Here's that exchange.
So if phone records were to reflect that you were making phone calls from the same location as the condo before November 1st of 2021, and it was on multiple occasions, the phone records would be wrong?
If phone records reflected that, yes, sir.
They'd be wrong.
They'd be wrong.
Former federal prosecutor, former assistant U.S. attorney for the Northern District of Georgia, Francie Hakes, and Gray Analytics vice president, general counsel, former U.S. attorney for the Northern District of Alabama, Jay Town, joins me. Francie, you're shaking your head, so I'm going to start with you. Is Fani Willis going to survive this, assuming all this is true?
Well, you know, Greta, she absolutely should not. Steve Sadow, who is a very veteran defense attorney I went up against many times, laid a very neat little perjury trap for Nathan Wade when he talked about the cell phone records. And you would think an experienced prosecutor like Fani Willis would have been worried that the reason Sadow was asking about those cell phone records was because he had Wade's cell phone records. And yet, she came bullying into the courtroom nonetheless, let him testify the way he did, denying the data that's obviously in the cell phone records. And then she proceeded to do exactly the same thing, denying that anyone but her daughter had ever spent the night with her. I think we may hear now, well, I don't consider 4 hours to be spending the night. I don't know how they're going to parse this, but she should definitely be disqualified. There should be an ethics complaint. She committed, in my opinion, perjury on the witness stand, as did Wade. They ought to be prosecuted, and they probably face disbarment.
Fanny and Nathan busted cell phone records show they may have been not truthful in court during the evidentiary hearing. We remember Nathan Wade's testimony that he never stayed the night over at Fanny's residence, but the phone records, they show different, and we're going to see what that looks like. This is an affidavit that got submitted from Trump's attorney, remember, Steve Sadow, and he asked some questions of Nathan Wade during the evidentiary hearing that we covered in depth here. And one of those questions was about, how many times did you go over to Fanny's residence? Was it less than than 10? Nathan Wade had a bunch to say, but it turns out they had some phone records that show, based off the triangulations, that Nathan Wade was over there a lot more than he testified to. And that is now being called out. Question that begs, of course, is did FANI and her office lie about this? Did Nathan perjure himself to the court? And was FANI right there behind him doing the same? Now, FANI's office is creating a rapid reaction force. They're trying to assemble this. CBS News is reporting that they're trying to get a response on this to say that the cell phone records are fake and probably Russian disinformation or whatever they're going to come up with. Probably racist cell phones. And they'll issue a response, and we cannot wait to see what that sounds like. And Jim Jordan is also communicating that they have been talking to a whistleblower from FANI's office who says that they misappropriated a government grant. So FANI and Wade are clearly busted of these records. 12,000 interactions over 11 months, 2,000 voicemails, and evening hour conversations, okay, during the nighttime, where they're going over their court briefs and their memoranda. Yeah. Now, focusing on geolocation activity, here's where we get some good stuff. We got the number now, number 2. Now, focusing on geolocation activity near 3300 Dogwood Drive, which was testified to by Miss Yurdy, we heard her, as the address of her condo, and generating a report to reflect the activity that they also attached and gave to the judge. They say, this is what I did. I wanted to see the total volume, essentially. What's the total volume? A lot. 12,000 interactions, 2,000 voice calls late at night. All right. But also, I'm just going to focus on this one address. Yurdy's condo where FANI was living. And I generated a report to focus in on that area. That is now Exhibit C. Now, given the urgency associated with the need to analyze this newly acquired data against Yurdy's relevant testimony, I constructed a very conservative geofence, a fence geographically on a map that isolated 2 cell towers in the closest proximity to this address. So you put this on a map, you say, okay, here is the Dogwood Drive residence. And I say, I found one was 3,000 feet away right here. And the other one was 2,000 feet, a little closer right here. So we've got these 2 cell towers, which have now been pinged, 3,000 feet, 2,000 feet. Now, the purpose of this geofence was to conduct an initial assessment of whether Mr. Wade's phone ever connected to these 2 towers. All right, so this tower maybe has a range that looks like this, right? And then this tower has a range that looks like this, with like Venn diagrams a little bit over here. And so if it within this area it overlaps the 2 Venn diagrams, we know that that's Wade's phone. He's in that area. Now, a minimum, right, based on very conservative estimates, at a minimum 35. And he was being very conservative. He said that many times. What did Nathan Wade say? Do you remember his testimony on what he said when he was asked about this? This is from the evidentiary hearing. And this is when Steve Sadow was asking Nathan Wade about this specifically. Let's refresh our recollection here.
It maybe was my question was poorly worded. Let me try again. Your answer is yes. Prior to November 1st of 2021, you would have gone to the Hapeville condo and been there with Miss Willis, correct?
Yes.
And you would have been there, as you indicated, for many reasons, right?
Yes.
Can you give me just list a few of the reasons?
Miss Yurdy resided there, went to visit her, maybe went to talk about a document that I received.
You would go to the condo to talk about a document that you received?
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other reasons?
None come to mind.
None come to mind.
No, sir.
And would you say that was frequent? When I say frequent, do you think prior to November 1st of 2021, you were at the condo more than 10 times?
No, sir.
No more.
10 times.
Yes, sir.
So if phone records were to reflect that you were making phone calls from the same location as the condo before November 1st of 2021, and it was on multiple occasions, the phone records would be wrong?
If phone records reflected that, yes, sir.
They'd be wrong.
They'd be wrong.
Okay. Where did you live during that time period?
Same place I live now.
Which is not in Hapeville, correct?
It is not in Hapeville.
It is north of Atlanta, the city of Atlanta, correct?
It is.
Okay. Any other reasons why you would be in the Hapeville area on multiple occasions prior to November 1st of 2021?
Totally setting him up, right? Watching this in hindsight.
Let's see. The Porsche Experience is there.
Okay, so that would have been one.
Yes, sir. The airport is there.
Airport in Hapeville.
Yes, sir. Delta Airlines is headquartered there. Let's see. Restaurants there.
Okay.
FANI's booties over there.
If that's your recollection, that's fine. I'm not asking you to try to remember everything, but if that's
okay.
Look at his face too. Okay, so Steve Sadow, now that we know that he had those phone records in his back pocket this entire time, look at his little smirk there. Okay, Steve knows. He's like, you are busted, man. You're totally busted.
your affidavit filed in connection with the response with Miss Willis.
Okay,
No.
so now they go in. Did you talk to FANI about your affidavit, right? So he's totally busted. He got him right there. So 35 times at minimum, based on a conservative analysis, he says less than 10. So for the purposes of my...
This past couple weeks, President Trump has been very, very busy fighting his cases with these 4 trumped up charges, pun intended, in the various states. But as we see, God is revealing truth in every one of them. And you know what? The thing about this is that when you're unjustly persecuted or attacked, God usually turns that all around. And late in the midnight hour, it comes back to bite those people in the butt or in the fanny, pun intended.
This is it for right now, but let me give you a word of advice. Always know one thing in your heart, that God is always in control, and those who tell the truth and live by the truth will always be victorious in the end. You stay cool, you stay good, you stay peaceful, and know that God is with you in and all through this.